Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Arvid Buit is a globally recognized leadership expert, strategy consultant, and author with over 20 years of experience helping leaders and organizations transform. Known for his candid and insightful approach, he combines neuroscience, behavioral science, and attachment theory to challenge common leadership myths and deliver practical, actionable strategies. Drawing on a unique background that includes working with international artists, shaped in part by his early career touring in the entertainment industry, Arvid offers a deep understanding of the pressures and complexities leaders face. Through his executive coaching, keynote speaking, and writing, he helps leaders develop self-awareness, build authentic connections, and achieve sustainable success in today's demanding environment. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mal, and today on the show, my special guest from the Netherlands. He's none other than Arvid. Give a big hand to him. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much, Mel. Lovely to be here.
Well, we did a bit of a get to know each other at the start, and there's a lot of things that I can actually jump into, which I won't right now. But I'll just go a couple of steps back, Arvid. Tell us a little bit about who Arvid is. What are some of your passions?
Well, those are two different things, maybe, but I've a lot of different things I do. But I started my career in the entertainment industry. So I traveled around the world touring with artists, designing shows, producing, and ultimately working with the artist as an artist manager. So what I saw there was the difference between people on stage and people backstage. So on stage in an arena, 50,000 people, it's applause, it's entertainment, it's great, they feel amazing, they look amazing. And backstage, they needed cocaine and alcohol and some ladies on demand to get a life running. So there was an extreme discrepancy between the on stage and the backstage life. And that's what caught my eye. And that's where I started to become interested in the brain of successful people and the psychology of successful people. So I think that's the first spark. And I have a background in music as well, so I can easily relate with these people. So I was able to create a relationship with them. And I found that if you want to work with this type of people, that relationship is key. And I think that became the foundation of coaching. So that's the most boring answer ever, probably. I would love to spark it up, but that's how it started. And besides that, I do a lot of reading, and I do shooting. I do voiceovers for Disney. I do all kinds of different things. But this is my main work, and I wrote some books in coaching. I do a lot of lectures with coaches, and I love to talk about leadership and leadership psychology in order for the world to understand those people better, because often we call them dirty narcissists, and that's the end of the conversation. So I love to get more in depth, especially with very smart colleagues like yourself, to talk about the subject and get people to know and learn more about this.
And I guess it helps when you can connect with them at such a, I guess at a different level. You know, maybe it's a similar, example, if they're very good in music, so you're good in music as well. So there's some similarities there. What is the similarity of that with that interest of getting behind the brain of the narcissist, as you said?
First of all, I never call anyone a narcissist. It's in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual, the big book of the psychiatrists, and it will go out of there in the next version because it's basically entered on the mythology and the way people explain that. But what we see basically in the ground foundation of these people is an attachment disorder. And 1 in 3 people in the world is suffering from an attachment disorder. So that's quite a lot of people. And I think those people recognize each other. They can find their way in all kind of different matters. And I myself as well in the entertainment industry, I was going for more and bigger and better. And ultimately you end up with nothing because you're trying to fill up a water well with air. So you will never fill it, right? So I recognize that pattern. Most certainly. And when I quit the entertainment industry, I suffered from anxiety and all kind of terrible things that I basically self-inflicted by running over, wanting more, creating dopamine kicks.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be confronted with that to be able to recognize it in others and create a sensitivity that as coaches we need to understand and feel in the room and be able to be comfortable with that. Because our clients, especially if you do executive coaching, have really special backgrounds, special personalities, and a special energy that you have to play with, right?
Yeah.
So
That special dance, as we often call it, right?
Yeah.
And that led you into that curiosity, led you into coaching, that desire to wanting to know more about the human psyche, about what makes them tick, what drove them. Go ahead.
The first step was trying to make people that are successful also happy in their own lives. So that sounds very simple and primal, but that's what they can't. And that started with artists. That started before I called myself a coach. So I'm doing this for 20 years now, but I only full-time started calling myself such in 2009. So it's about 17 years ago. And then I connected with a very famous psychologist, Martin Appler, who wrote like 30 books on the subject of narcissism and attachment disorders. Started working with them, wrote my first book in 2015 for myself, and in 2018 a book together with him. And I really went into that subject and specialized. And I think a lot of coaches, and for me that as well, I started with like 6 conversations with people sitting in my special coach office was a can of water and an apple, and basically you're playing a coach, right? That's a start, playing as you were a coach. And at a certain point I thought, like, this doesn't change anything. I can't work with this. I mean, I need at least a few months to build the relationship, let alone change and help them develop. So I had to dive deep in how that works. I was connected to Marshall Goldsmith in America, started his stakeholder-centered approach, which is not a holy approach, but it's very valuable to learn how to connect with stakeholders and make the social environment part of the coaching. So, and that all mixed together up till where we are now. And last year I released my latest book, Let's Talk Leadership. And what I tried there is to combine all these things. So the psychology, the philosophy, the psychological scripts, and the behavioral change in a 3 parts to get the conversation started. Basically, that's what I'm aiming for.
And that's so important. The little spark of trust that I sense that the leaders don't really give too much to everyone. They read the room amazingly well. They can sense when someone's really going to help them or work with them or have an agenda behind the sleeve, So as you went deeper into that, what were some of the insights that you got from working with these leaders, and it kind of helped you through your journey, into mastering yourself?
Well, one of the things I learned that what I do with people is psychoeducation. So they need to understand their own system, because one of the points that you're lighting out correctly is that they're good in reading the room. But it's not a talent, it's a burden, because they feel unsafe. It's like a dog that's been abused. If they hear a stick breaking, a branch breaking off a tree, they're alert. So the alertness comes with a price, right? So they have to understand what that is. What is serotonin in relation to safety? What's dopamine in relation to feeling happy and okay? And waking up every morning without that and creating like a fake limb just to walk around the world with all kind of workarounds, and building the relationship with these people rotates around unconditional love and recognition. So what they've learned in life is that it's all conditional, and that is status, sex, money, power, whatever good stuff you can eat, and it will never be enough. You buy a boat, it's 50 meters, you boat to Monaco, and there's an asshole with 100 meters boat, so you still feel like a douche. So it's hard because it's a never-ending competition, and the dopamine bucket will never be full. So what we try to do is be open, try to create that sense of security and safety in a room by adapting to them, so make them feel that they're in control, and create that unconditional relationship that is so important to start working with them. And keep up with that, because it seems like, oh, that's fun to do, but it's not, because their behavior often is not that kind in the start of the beginning. So tolerating all this And that's also part of leadership, like tolerating emotions and tension. You have to be able to keep up with that. And as coaches, you have to do so as well. It's not always fun.
It is not always fun, and that's, I guess, the paradox that we deal with every single day with the different people that we meet. And then we've got our own to balance as well, right? Something that they're saying will often come in through our lenses, and it may even trigger us. I know it has done that for me before. What do you think as coaches are coming into the world in a bigger fashion, right? Because coaching is becoming more and more acceptable all across. What do you see as possible dangers that we've got to look out for so that we don't just equate this to a bunch of to-dos, like a checklist, right? Even the ICF core competencies, right? Let me just say that. And be careful that it's not just because we're doing all that we're right.
Well, this problem will solve itself, I think, because Nicker ter Blanche is a professor in South Africa, and he has coachvici.com. And what he basically did is build an AI that can do 90% of foundation coaching. So if we're trying to build systems and trying to analyze what we do, I'm one of the guys on the standpoint that we're already lost that game. I think that basic coaches that do some job coaching and some basic interviews, maybe even, and that's same as for psychologists, like cognitive behavioral therapy. I mean, an AI can do that. And possibly people want some human contact, but I think if we as supervisors would analyze this, we would be amazed by the strength and the rigidity of AI. So the difference from what we do is that relationship, a true relationship. And with people that are unsafe as a person and are always under threat in their corporate identity, we'll never work with a computer to solve this. But the question is here, are we trying to be liked or are we trying to be useful? If we're able to be useful, we have to understand that comfort and clarity are in debate with each other. So don't create comfort, create clarity. And that at cost of discomfort. So we build a relationship to tolerate discomfort together. And I would challenge AI to do that. I would love to see it. And then I'll go to do something entirely different.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's coming too one day. One day could be soon as well. The things that the human can do, at least for now, is the piece of that balancing of those discomforts. And as we ourselves get used to it, there comes to also a place of plateauing. I think that's also dangerous. As you foresee that future coming perhaps sooner than later, what are you getting yourself involved in so that you prep in readiness for that versus just exiting the coaching scene altogether?
No, I don't prep for anything because I'm not afraid at all. Actually, what I see is that everybody became a coach. Every 16-year-old Instagram type is famous, and there's an entire business built on that, and that's all good, but that will be deleted. As fast as it grows, as fast it will be emptying the stage. So I'm not worried at all. What I think is that as coaches, like every organization, every entity, it grows, it needs to be, it's in puberty. Coaching is in puberty right now. So we need to make some choices. Where are we heading for? And the professionals will stay and the rest will leave and do something entirely different, but the real ones will stay. And I think what we can do is, for what I did personally, is I work with people as a coach for about 12 months. That's the minimum time. And after that, often they say, okay, coaching is done. Could you stay on as like consigliere? That's what the Godfather would call it, right? Tom Hagen, have you seen the movie? Well, so it's like a trusted advisor because we built the relationship, but now they need more from you. They need you to be understanding the business world better, to help advise. So I think going more in depth, I specialize in negotiations, for example, which is also a very big link with psychology and prepping people for it. So you can go more in depth. I mean, a lot of coaches step into the pitfall of saying it's about asking the right question. No, it's not. That's something everybody can do. And the question is, if somebody answers that question, are you able to say, okay, you say this, but what I feel and what I see is entirely different. Help me out here. That's what an AI won't do, unless you hang the room full of cameras and sensors and whatnot and tell AI who's the boss. That's interesting, because AI needs somebody to be the reality, right?
Yeah.
Right now, it will always say what you like. But if you have 2 or more people in the room, who's the boss now? And in coaching, the relationship is equal. We don't have the same role, but we go equal. So that's an interesting programming challenge for those people, right?
That's true.
So it's an interesting business. I mean, in the Netherlands alone, we have 18 million people. 100,000 people call themselves coach. In one of the largest professional bodies, there are only 5,000 accredited coaches. Only 40 of them are master coaches. How big is that market? There is no market for 100,000 people. There is a market for people that just want to sit in a chair and listen to people confirming what they say. I read Hollywood stories in the magazines that the 2 famous actors were in a couples therapy for 8 years before their divorce. That's not therapy. That's paying somebody $1,000 an hour just to listen to you. If you want that, that's okay. I think AI can do that cheaper. So
That's true.
It will reorganize itself in a way that we can define by just creating quality.
Yeah, I love that thought, which is coming too very, very fast. It's that added spark. In Asia, we call it the different oil that you can add on to it. And there are so many layers of that. The first one is to encourage a person, right? So if I say add oil, means I'm adding fire to you, that is enhancing you, that is empowering you. And then there's that flavorsome thing. And then there's different layers of that, right? And then, of course, there is the difference between the oil and water. You can see them together, but they're not together, if you know what I mean. So there is just, so deep. We're at this brink where we are partnering at this level, and then there is so many things that is happening underneath the surface that has not been invited to the conversation.
Yeah, but that also means that I think 90% of the coaches should be doing more work and research in psychology and understanding that better. And especially, I would say, if you're an executive coach, if you don't know learning history, attachment disorders, don't know how to create a biographical intake, then you need some work, because that's where it all starts. And it's not complicated, but you need to do the work and read a good book now and then. And most of the work has been done, so it's not that you have to invent the wheel again. I think the coaching started out making itself like a niche about asking questions, and you don't need a resume at all. So it was a reintegration of people that had a burnout. Well, that's not it anymore. It's became professional. But my good friend Martin Appelo, he's a psychologist, a university professor. He wrote everything, and he said, yeah, we were there as psychologists 30 years ago. It's the same thing. So like history, it repeats. We just continue, create quality, and it'll figure itself out, if that makes sense.
What were your thoughts for the younger ones, right? Training up new coaches. They don't have that quite the depth of that. What do you think would be some starting blocks for them?
Well, the problem is you can't fake life. Because for coaches, the same as leaders. You can't be a great leader at 20 because you have to go through it. It's a search on your own life and your own personality. So you cannot, there's no cheat codes in there. Yeah. And if you're 20, you can be very smart and you can have all kinds of techniques, but you don't have life experience. So you're a writer with no books. So you can call yourself a writer, but you have nothing to show for it. And I think it's great that they want to go in there, but then do the work. Because my clients will pick you out a lineup within a second because they're very sensitive. So you can fake it, you can cheat it, but if you're ready to do so, I think at 30, if you start at 20, at 30, you can get real. So you don't need to have gray hair and a long beard in order to be a therapist or a good coach. So if you work with people with high risks and you've never taken a risk, you don't know how it feels. Yeah. If you talk about pathology and you have never experienced yourself in a bad situation, don't talk about it. It's so empty. And then my question would always be, why do you want to do this? You want to be special for special people. So it's about your status. It's about you being important. Okay, now we know where we have to work on, because you have to start there. And if you start that journey there, and become successful yourself and understand why, okay, now you can help others.
There is a statement that says coaches get birth or are birthed from their insecurities. What's your thought on that?
That's a part of the group, and pain and longing and trying to help people while trying to learn something about yourself. And that's all good, because the bad part of being a bad coach is part of becoming a good coach. So that's all good, but don't call yourself an amazing leadership expert if you're 21, because you're not.
Yes.
You can't be. And babies can drive a car. That's okay. Their limbs are too short, and your psychology and your personality is too short for now to drive that big car. And that's okay. Just grow, and you'll be there.
Yeah, very true. Well, thank you. It's very enlightening. Where do you foresee the future, which is we're stepping into right now, even in the next, I can't even say, in the next year or two, Arvid, and perhaps even the future that you like to be a part of?
What we're doing worldwide is recalibrating. And recalibrating not as leaders, but as voters. So everybody talks about Trump. What I'd like to talk about is 175 million people that thought this guy should do it. So we have to understand that if we're unhappy, that choosing a leader that does the opposite is not the solution. So I think we're recalibrating our take and our view on leadership. That doesn't mean that kind people are the best leaders, because they're not. Even Nelson Mandela, I talked to a group yesterday of coaches, and they said, like, he's like a very wise leader. Yeah, he was, but he was a rebellion first.
Yeah,
he shot people, and then he went to prison for 26 years and did all the thinking and the work and the pain and the suffering. And now he was a very wise man, but he didn't start out as a wise baby. So all this recalibration of leadership is a collective learning path that we have to go through in the world. And I think we see that on all different places. I think we had a lot of spirituality and giving sense to life only connected to religion. And we have like 2,900 religions in the world. So we're almost always atheist 99.9% of the way, because we only believe one of them. And the interesting part is, like, do we still accept religion as a leader, or do we use it as an inspiration, for example? And that's something that, at least in Europe, we see that very strongly. I think some parts of the world, it's more embedded in the culture. But we see that people are stepping out and in. And like Nietzsche said, God is dead. That's his statement. But that comes with a price, because now you have no stability, you have no rules. Now you have to find it out yourself. Now you're the one having to take in the results of whatever you did. Whew, that's so we see a rise of depression. We see people finding it hard to create meaning in life. So this is what we're going through as a world. So what do we accept as a truth? Is Trump a truth? Is Christianity a truth? Why are a lot of people in Europe going into Buddhism? Because it doesn't offend other people, maybe. Because it's kind. It's taking you as a center. It's taking you as part of something larger instead of you as the center of the world. So I think all of these thoughts are coming together thanks to information spreading, thanks to wars and whatnot. So I think that's a collective process. Personally, don't really like people. I like humanity, but not people. So I'm a bit of a difficult one to ask where I want the world to go. I want the world to go away, mainly. Just leave me alone. That would be great. Sorry for that.
No. I see you being in it as well, right? Just from the little that I'm listening to you, I sense that you want to be in that puzzle of making that difference, whatever the difference is, right? And to shine that light to the leaders in particular that you work with, right? To kind of say, hey, this is your reality right now. So where do you really want to go? You are challenging them, you're pushing them. And I think that's what kind of drives you.
And that's the fun part of our job, creating quality of thinking, creating quality of feeling. And if you connect those, wherever it leads you, that's okay. I'm not the guy who tells you where to go.
Exactly.
Far from it. I don't know. But creating quality of thinking is great to do, and it's helpful for me as well. I mean, it's an ongoing process, and that's the fun of it. So that's why I love coaching.
Yeah. Any last thoughts that you have for
final words before dying? We touched upon it. I think for coaches, successful coaches, clarity comes at the cost of discomfort. Be able to tolerate that discomfort and be useful to your client. Don't say things like, yeah, we're coaching and we're not responsible for the result. Because I learned one thing from Marcia Goldsmith, maybe that's a good one to end with. It's never about the coach. So if you're the best coach in the world and the client doesn't change, who cares? And if you're the worst coach in the world, but the client does change, who cares? Yeah. It's never about you. Be useful and tolerate discomfort.
I love the silence there. It kind of allows that to land more so, because that discomfort is sometimes deafening. But it's the sound of that tone that we need to hear more often. I really appreciate you being here and sharing not just your thoughts, but the fire within you, which I wanted to link to, the bio that I read about you, and you talked about the fire within, and you were a founder of this dance initiative. If I can ask about that as we close.
Oh yeah, I did that for 15 years. I had a dance camp organization, so that's what we did. And I'm not a dancer, but I was from the entertainment industry, and my ex-girlfriend was a dancer, and she was bored in summer. So I thought, like, let's start something for you. And she was gone after a year, and then I was there with a dance camp, and it was so amazing because what we created is children having masterclasses from the best people in the world. So we flew in everybody from TV, the real choreographers, so the best of the best, living in an amazing building surrounded by forest. At campfires, we build it towards a show at the end of the week. But the most fun part is it's a place where children were inspired by people that they look up to. That's it. And there was no judgment. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be the best. We're enjoying it together. You're with like-minded people. And we had these little bands, they wore like connected by dance. And it's about the connection. You can do the connection with anything. It's about being inspired by people that are at a certain place that you want to go to. It's same what you're doing with your amazing podcast, right? So people want to become a coach. Well, you've given them the opportunity to learn from a lot of different people, and not one of them is entirely right. I most certainly am not, but you can be inspired, and I think I love those places where people can do that and find that. And it was an amazing period. But then I had 2 children myself, and it cost always my entire summer holiday. So we moved on, but it was amazing.
Thank you for sharing that fire. I mean, I do feel that fire that you were talking about metaphorically, but also in this conversation. Sincerely, I thank you for being the most honest person that you can be on this podcast. And I'm not going to remove certain words that you said, because it's authentic and it's you. And I'm going to show the world this is what it takes to be at that level of mastery for you, for yourself. So thank you once again, Arvid.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. I love your energy, and amazing to be in this Australian beautiful product. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. This is the 100 Master Coaches show, together with Arvid and myself, saying keep that fire within yourself. Don't let that go away. And
burn, baby. Burn.
Burn, baby. Catch you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.